Asha Jaquilla Degree was born on the 5th of August 1990 in Shelby, Cleveland County, North Carolina, and was the second-born child of Harold and Aquilla Degree, who were already parents to a 1-year-old named O'Brien. Harold and Aquilla married on Valentine's Day in 1988 and raised both their son and daughter at a residence on Oak Crest Drive, Falston, a rural area located north of Shelby. The Degree family were very close-knit, with some of their extended family living further down the street where they lived in Falston. The family's lives centred mainly around their Christian faith, and they attended Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church on a regular basis. Harold and Aquilla made sure to keep both of their children sheltered from outside influences, focusing mainly on church and their children's schooling. Asha reportedly loved attending church and her Bible study classes. Harold and Aquilla were very protective of their children and limited the likes of television hours. They also did not have a computer due to Harold and Aquilla's concerns regarding online predators. In 2000, 9-year-old Asha was a 4th grader at Falston Elementary School, and she was reportedly an outstanding pupil. She had an almost perfect attendance record and performed excellently in science and maths. She also expressed a passion for reading and writing, as well as sports, and played basketball for the girls' team at her school, her brother O'Brien also sharing his sister's passion for basketball by playing for the boys' team. Asha had ambitions to become a writer and an illustrator after graduating school. Both Harold and Aquilla worked regular jobs, which tended to run over the time in which both O'Brien and Asha would return home from school, so both children had keys to the house to let themselves in, to finish whatever homework they had, or to carry out some chores whilst they waited for their parents to return home. Both Asha and O'Brien were reported to be very responsible for their ages, and the two were very close. Asha was described as a cautious, timid, and shy girl who tended to obey all of the rules her parents set out. Asha didn't go out much apart from for church or school-related activities, though it was known that Asha was fearful of dogs, strangers, and the dark. On February 11th, 2000, all of the Cleveland County schools were closed for a long weekend to celebrate President's Day. Both Harold and Aquilla still had to go to work, so as a result, Asha and O'Brien stayed at their aunt's home, located further down the street. Despite the holiday, both Asha and her brother attended basketball practice at their school grounds. The following day, Saturday 12th, Asha attended her first basketball game of the season at their opponent's school, but unfortunately luck wasn't on their side. Asha, who played as a star point guard, fouled out, and the team ended up losing the match by just 1 point. Asha was angry and upset with herself for fouling, feeling that she had let her team down. Following the match, Asha and her teammates cried together, disappointed about the loss, especially by just a mere single point. Fortunately, Asha seemed to recuperate rather quickly and seemed completely back to her normal self by the time her brother played his match shortly after the girls' game had ended. That night, Asha stayed at her cousin's home for a sleepover, staying up much later than she normally would. The following day, Sunday the 13th of February, the Degrees picked Asha up from her cousin's home before attending church as usual, before heading back to the aunt's house in the afternoon. At approximately 8 p.m. that night, after returning from their cousins, 9-year-old Asha and 10-year-old Bryant retired to their shared bedroom. Asha, in particular, was very tired from the previous night's sleepover antics, and both children had school the following morning, so they wanted to make sure that they had a good night's rest. As night fell upon the residents of Shelby, a heavy thunderstorm raged through the skies, strong winds also causing chaos across the neighbourhood. At around 9 p.m, Asha awoke because of the loud rumbling of thunder and bright flashes of lightning. She was also terrified of such storms. Asha got up and went into the living room to watch some television with her parents and her brother as the storm continued to rage on. A short time later, the Falston neighbourhood suffered a power outage after a car crashed into a nearby electricity pole. At the time, Aquila was running a bath for her children, but due to the power cut, she decided to send her children to bed for the night instead. The power was out for about 3.5 hours, eventually coming back on at approximately 12:30 a.m. Harold Degree, the patriarch of the family, was out working that night. He was a dock loader and tended to work all sorts of hours, and he returned shortly after the power lines had been restored. Before returning home, however, he went to a local store to buy some Valentine's candy for his anniversary the following day. After he returned home at approximately 12:30 a.m, Harold opened the door leading into his children's bedroom and saw both Asha and O'Brien fast asleep in their beds. Harold, still awake, stayed up for a few more hours before checking on his children again in the wee hours of February 14th at approximately 2:30 a.m, both children still sound asleep in their beds. Shortly afterwards, Harold too retired to bed for the night. A short while later, 10-year-old O'Brien heard his sister's bed squeak, assuming that Asha was either tossing and turning in her bed or had gotten up to use the bathroom. He thought nothing of it and fell back asleep. Their mother, Aquila, awoke around 5:45 a.m. on February 14th, not just being Valentine's Day, but also the Degrees' wedding anniversary. At the same time, Aquila began to run a bath for Asha and O'Brien, as they didn't have one the night before due to the thunderstorm and subsequent power outage. She wanted to make sure that her children were feeling fresh before going to school that day. Aquila was due to leave for work shortly afterwards and, as usual, expected both of her children to get dressed, eat their own breakfast and catch the school bus. At approximately 6:30 a.m, Aquila went into the children's bedroom to wake them up for school. O'Brien was still sleeping soundly under his covers. However, Asha was nowhere to be seen. Her bed was empty. Aquila searched through the house for her 9-year-old daughter, also checking outside the residence and in both family cars, but she couldn't find her anywhere. Aquila woke her husband and told him that she couldn't find their daughter, and as a result, Harold suggested that they called his mother, who lived down the street, to see if Asha had perhaps stopped by, but she hadn't. Aquila then called her mother in a panic, unsure of what to do, but her mother told her to contact the police as soon as possible. For Asha to disappear into thin air was completely out of character. Police arrived at the Degree residence approximately 10 minutes later at 6:40 a.m. to investigate, bringing police dogs too in an effort to trace Asha's scent, but unfortunately the 9-year-old's scent could not be picked up. It's likely that the thunderstorm hindered this process significantly. By 7 a.m, most of the neighbourhood were awake and aiding in the search for Asha, many of which cancelled their plans to go looking for the schoolgirl. The Degree family, alongside police, neighbours, and members of the church, spent the entire day scouring the area for any sign of Asha, and even a helicopter was brought in to search from the skies using infrared heat detection. But despite their combined efforts, no trace of Asha was found. During this initial search, all that was found was a winter mitten, which Asha's mother confirmed did not belong to her missing daughter. Following the desperate search for Asha, local news reported on the schoolgirl's disappearance across various news outlets, and as a result, 2 truck drivers came forward with some rather interesting yet puzzling information. The 2 drivers, along with another witness, told authorities that they had seen a young girl matching Asha's description walking along North Carolina's Highway 18 between 3:45 and 4:15 a.m, a short distance away from the Degree home, around about a mile or so. The thunderstorm was still raging overhead at this time, and one of the drivers, a 25-year-old who worked for the Sundrop Bottling Company, was very concerned about witnessing a child walking alone along the highway at such an hour, also in such harrowing weather conditions. According to this witness, who was taking his lunch break at the time, the girl wasn't wearing any sort of warm clothing to protect her from the storm, and as a result, the driver attempted to approach Asha to offer a helping hand. However, she scarpered, disappearing into the nearby woods. This was reportedly the very last time that 9-year-old Asha Degree was seen alive. The following day, on February 15th, authorities investigated the wooded area where Asha was reportedly last seen, near to the intersection of Highway 180, in the hopes to find any clues which could indicate where she was or what had happened to her. And 3 days later, on February 17th, whilst looking in the doorway of a tool shed at Turner's Upholstery, located along the highway, not far from the woods where Asha was last seen, police found a number of candy wrappers, a pencil, a marker pen, and a Mickey Mouse hair bow, all of which Harold and Aquila Degree confirmed to have belonged to their daughter. It is presumed that Asha sheltered from the storm in this shed. Very interestingly, according to one source, a small passport-sized photograph of a young African-American girl who appeared to be around about the same age as Asha was found inside the shed. But the girl in the image was not Asha, nor was she anyone from Falston Elementary School. It's unclear where the photograph came from, and it is also unknown if the girl was ever identified. On some of the many sources that we looked at in regards to this case, this photograph of the girl was very rarely mentioned, which seems quite odd. Surely authorities would want to know who the girl in the picture was. For all we know, she could also be a missing person. Some theorise that Asha could have been catfished by someone, pretending to be the young girl in the photograph, whereas others believe the girl may have been a victim of a child predator, just as Asha could have been herself. Upon returning to their Oakcrest Drive residence following another day of searching on February 16th, the Degrees searched through Asha's belongings in order to see if anything was missing, and some items of significance were gone. Asha's black book bag, which contained her house keys, was missing, as was her Tweety Bird purse and a number of her favourite clothes. A pair of blue jeans with a red stripe, a pair of black shoes, a long-sleeved white shirt with purple lettering, a rest vest top with a black trim, a pair of black overalls with Tweety Bird printed on them, and a long-sleeved black and white shirt. Because of the lack of necessities she appeared to have packed, it was clear to authorities that Asha had been the one who had packed her belongings away, nobody else. The squeak heard by O'Brien that he presumed to be Asha turning in bed could have been her getting out of bed and leaving the room. Authorities believe that Asha had been planning her departure from home for at least a few days prior to her disappearance. Quite interestingly, all of the windows and doors in the Degree residence were locked on the night Asha vanished. There were no signs of forced entry, meaning that Asha didn't exit the property by force. She had her own key, so she probably could have locked the front door herself if this was indeed her point of exit. This ruled out the possibility of an unknown person entering the home and abducting the 9-year-old. However, she could have been abducted following her departure from the Degree home, or she could have been lured away. Police concluded without a doubt that Asha had left the home of her own accord in the early hours of February 14th, though her reasons for leaving still leave investigators baffled. This was a girl who was afraid of the dark and adverse weather, and yet she left her home in the middle of the night in the midst of a raging thunderstorm. Interestingly to note, Asha's class at her school had just finished reading The Whipping Boy by Sid Fleischman around the time of her disappearance, the book's plot centering around 2 children running away from home in the middle of the night, but eventually returning. It's possible that the plot may have influenced Asha's decision to run away, but whether this was indeed the catalyst for Asha's disappearance is unknown. The search for Asha was extensive, and within just 7 days, over 9,000 man-hours had been invested in the search. Flyers and missing posters were put up across the area as news outlets continued to report on Asha's disappearance. As a result, a number of potential sightings and tips came into police, but unfortunately, nothing of significance came from these tips. No other clues were found during the initial search, and as a result, the search was called off on February 20th. Despite this, local media were urged by authorities to continue appealing to the public for any information which could lead to Asha's whereabouts, with the Degree family offering a $5,000 reward. The Degrees even appeared on a number of daytime television shows to spread awareness about Asha's disappearance. They did everything possible to get her name, her picture, and her story out there. Asha's friends at her school were also questioned by police, and according to a number of sources, Asha showed her classmates some banknotes in her wallet, but nobody knew where she got the money from. It's unknown if Asha took the money with her when she disappeared. On February 22nd, a press conference was held in which it was revealed by North Carolina's SBI, State Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI were now involved in this case alongside investigators at the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office. Both entered Asha's details into their respective missing persons databases and carried out a number of extensive inquiries and investigations. They continued to struggle in establishing a valid reason as to why Asha had run away from home. She was very quiet and shy, as previously mentioned, so she wouldn't have run away from home with someone she didn't know. It wasn't in Asha's nature to do something like that. Her home life was very happy, if not a little sheltered, but nothing appeared to be bothering Asha around the time she vanished. The basketball game loss was upsetting for her, but would this be reason enough to run away? She seemed back to her normal self within a few hours, but maybe something else was on her mind. If so, what? What plans had she made? Where was she heading? Did she make these plans alone or with somebody else? Or did she perhaps meet with someone along the way? The Degree family all took polygraph tests in regards to Asha's disappearance, and all of them passed. They were always cooperative with authorities during their inquiries and let them search their home without any qualms. No evidence whatsoever suggested that the Degrees had anything to do with Asha's disappearance. The most likely scenario was that Asha was abducted following her departure from the Degree home. However, the following year, in August of 2001, 18 months after Asha's disappearance, a chilling discovery would lead authorities to believe that young Asha met with foul play following her bizarre vanishing. On the 3rd of August 2001, a contractor who was digging an access road near Morganton, Burke County, unearthed a backpack wrapped in 2 black trash bags by Laurel Creek, located just off North Carolina's Highway 18, approximately 26 miles north from the Degree home in Shelby, and in the opposite direction from where Asha was last seen walking. The bag was confirmed to be Asha Degree's book bag, as it had her name and telephone number written on the inside. Just to note at this point, a pair of men's khaki trousers and some animal bones were also found nearby. Asha's book bag underwent lab testing by the FBI, however the results of these tests were never released to the public. It is not known the entirety of the contents found within the bag, however some unconfirmed reports state that there was a piece of paper inside with Asha's name written on it, and there was a number of clothing items and a pencil case also found inside. The key which Asha had used for the family home was reportedly missing from the book bag. Almost 20 years after Asha's disappearance in 2018, the FBI, who had started reinvestigating this case in February of 2015, released 2 images of a book and a nightdress found inside Asha's book bag. The book was Dr. Seuss's McKelly-Gott's Pool, and a red and white t-shirt which read New Kids on the Block, featuring the band of the same name. The book had been checked out of Asha's school library around the time, but it's unknown who to. Neither the book or the t-shirt belonged to Asha, however, but according to investigators, these items are paramount to solving this case. They're still looking for anyone who may recognise these items from around the early 2000s. The book bag and its contents were the last pieces of evidence belonging to Asha to have been found in this case, and because of the nature in which the book was found buried, police believe that Asha more than likely met with foul play on the night she vanished. At the same time of this new lead in the case, it was also announced by authorities that there was a new reward of approximately $25,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for Asha Degree's disappearance. An additional $20,000 reward was put on top of the initial reward by the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office and a local community group. There is the possibility that Asha, who was nicknamed as Shelby's sweetheart following her disappearance, was seen getting into a distinctive dark green early 1970s model car on the night in question, according to a police statement released in 2016 citing a new lead in the case. The vehicle could possibly have been either a Lincoln Continental Mark IV or a Ford Thunderbird. The vehicle reportedly had rust around the wheel wells. In September 2017, the CO.AG team, the Child Abduction Rapid Department of the FBI, travelled to Cleveland County to help investigators working for the Sheriff's Office, as well as agents with the SBI and the Charlotte FBI in the Asha Degree case. The team worked with them for approximately 10 days and regularly meet to this day to go over the latest developments in the investigation. According to a number of sources, investigators and agents have held over 300 interviews since 2017 alone and continue to go through Asha's case with a fine comb in an effort to crack the case once and for all. They believe that the truth lies within Cleveland County itself. Someone must know what happened to Asha on that fateful night in February of 2000. Unfortunately, many leads in this case have only led to dead ends. Suspects came and went without any significant progress being made, some of which had previous records for child abduction, rape, and murder. Unfortunately, no evidence could link any of the suspects to Asha's disappearance. As a result, the trail has gone cold. As the years have passed, the Degree family have done everything in their power to keep their daughter's memory alive, keeping their faith that Asha is out there alive somewhere. They established a scholarship in Asha's name at her school and even host an annual walk every February to raise awareness about Asha's case and to raise money for their continuous search for her. The walking route is from the Degree home on Oakcrest Drive to Asha's billboard located along Highway 18, near to where she was last seen alive. The extremely bizarre circumstances in this case make it extremely unique. There is no other case quite as strange as the disappearance of Asha Degree. What truly happened to the 9-year-old that stormy night remains a mystery to this day. Why did Asha leave the comfort of her own home to walk along the highway in a treacherous thunderstorm? She was petrified of the dark and of wild weather. Where was she going and what was her plan? Why did she leave her family and friends behind? Was she intending to return home? Was Asha abducted or lured away? And if so, by who and why? Asha didn't talk to strangers, which makes the theory that she met up with someone she didn't know all the more confusing, unless either foul play was involved or she did know who the person or persons she was intending to meet. What happened to Asha after she ran into the woods? Where is she now? These are just some of the many questions about this puzzling case which still remain unanswered. What fate befell young Asha Degree that stormy night in February of 2000? At the time of her disappearance, Asha Degree was 9 years old. She is described as being of African American origins, standing at approximately 4 feet 6 inches tall and weighing 60 pounds. Asha has black hair and brown eyes, and notably has a chickenpox scar on the centre of her forehead, and both of her ears are pierced. On the night she vanished, it is believed that Asha was wearing a white nightshirt with a teddy bear on it, a pair of acid-washed jeans, and a size 3 pair of white Nike basketball or tennis shoes. Asha may have also been carrying a Tweety Bird purse and a black backpack. A number of age progression images of Asha have been released over the years, and on February 14th, 2020, exactly 20 years after she vanished, the National Centre for Missing and Exploited Children released another updated age progression image depicting Asha Degree as a 29-year-old woman. The Degrees did everything in their power to protect their children from the dark side of the world, but this case shows that even the most sheltered children can't always be protected from that darkness. It could be your child, your family member, your friend, your partner who goes missing. Count your lucky stars and appreciate those who surround you with love. Within an instant, they could be gone. Harold, Aquila, and O'Brien still struggle to come to terms with Asha's disappearance, but have kept their faith and believe that whatever the case, Asha was safe in God's hands. Hope has not yet dwindled for the Degrees, despite the time that has passed. O'Brien is in his 30s now and has a daughter of his own, who, according to various sources, strongly resembles young Asha. O'Brien continues to keep his sister's memory alive, and both he and his parents haven't given up hope that one day Asha will return home to them, back where she belongs.